Hello and welcome everybody, I'm OneProperVariant and we finally got the big news. Crusader Kings III will be released on the 1st of September 2020. This means that the release date is only about 3.5 months away and we can probably expect more and more actual gameplay footage to be released. Media outlets were allowed to publish quite a bit of footage when the release date was announced, and I've sifted through and analyzed it so that you wouldn't have to. So in this video I will be showing you the most important new info about CK3. Before we jump into taking a look at the myriad of new screenshots, let's talk about what we know about the price and future support for CK3. There's essentially two versions that can be pre-purchased, the Standard Edition at $49.99 and the Royal Edition at $74.99, with the Royal Edition including an expansion pass. Now, as always, as the buyer, you should be very cautious and only actually pre-order if you know that this is the right decision for you. If you are the type of person that buys all DLC right away when they release, the Royal Edition will ultimately save you money. If you are the type of person that waits for sales, then as always, waiting is the name of your game. They have also revealed the structure of future developments for CK3. There will be flavor packs at $6.99 and major expansions at $29.99, as well as of course the free patches that accompany most DLC packages in modern Paradox Interactive games. The DLC policy of Paradox Interactive has been a contentious topic in the past, and the DLC model has changed from many very small DLC to a more spaced out updating pattern that is especially visible in games like Stellaris and Hearts of Iron 4 that have been getting optional flavor packs in combination with big expansions since their release. Personally, I believe that long-term support for grand strategy games is better than releasing a new iteration of a game series every 2 years or so. I also prefer big meaty content packs over the scattered DLC wastelands that we can see in CK2 for example, so I welcome the approach taken for CK3. Do not, however, make your decision just based on my opinion, think it through yourself. Remember, a purchase you thought through is a good purchase. Alternatively, CK3 will also be available on the Xbox Game Pass right after release, meaning the entry hurdle is incredibly small with a teeny tiny monthly subscription fee attached to the Game Pass. So even if the game is too pricey for you, you can still check it out right away for almost no cost. Now let's move on to everything new we learned about CK3 with the new footage and articles being released. In the description you will find a video by Dave from GameSpot. To me, that video is the absolute gold standard of the new footage because it shows off so many mechanics that we had not yet seen in action, giving us an excellent glimpse into actual gameplay of CK3. Make sure to check it out and leave them a like, they really deserve it. There will be quite a number of videos analyzing what we have seen, but this one here today will now focus on the map and then in particular on cultural fascination and innovations. So let's start with everything map related. We now have access to a complete county, duchy and kingdom map of the game. The county map shows off a considerably higher province density, in particular in formerly underdeveloped regions like Eastern Europe, as well as a much more granular mapping of wastelands such as the Sahara and various mountain ranges within Europe. Remember, each of these counties has multiple small province holdings within it, since all baronies are now shown on the map and not just in a menu. The duchy map shows the power of this map in comparison to CK2's map, because the duchy borders follow natural obstacles and historical borders much more than was the case in CK2, making for an overall more impressive map. The amount of duchies, even when disregarding the new territory not featured on CK2's map, has risen considerably, with for example Silesia getting split into 2 duchies. It should be noted that a comparison with the county map makes it clear that there is a considerable amount of very small 2 county duchies, for example very visibly in Ireland. The kingdom map shows mostly what we'd expect coming from CK2, but with even more individual kingdoms inside of the East Roman Empire. It should also be noted that Scotland is now yellow and that Jerusalem has been shrunk down significantly. Initially, I was very worried about Jerusalem having less territory, but I think that this means a more interesting and more life-threatening situation for any Crusader kingdom that is created in the region, as the position is now much weaker. The individual island kingdoms of Crete and Cyprus will also likely bring many new gameplay opportunities, possibly even for pirate nations. I do also want to mention that I suspect this particular map to have had some de jure drifting happen, as Anbia down there is cut off awkwardly, Egypt goes awkwardly far east, and Lotharingia lacks the Duchy of Bar for example, which it definitely should have, but regardless of that, it is still a good map. Last but not least, the Empire map is very close to the one we know from CK2, and there's not much that I must add to this as far as explanations go. All in all, it is apparent that this map has undergone a rework that aims to achieve more regional balancing, more authenticity, and still enable gameplay. There are some issues with it, which are primarily terminology based, seeing as White Ruthenia, for example, should not be called White Ruthenia, seeing as that term was not used until the arrival of the Mongols in the region, but in practically all other ways, this map is a complete and very impressive upgrade. A big change to how Crusader Kings presents itself is also visible in the recommended characters section of the available scenarios. They are now neatly placed on a map, making it clear to old and new players what sort of characters the game is suggesting instead of just listing them off. This screenshot also clarifies something many people have had doubt over. The only starting dates are 867 and 1066, confirming that 936, for example, has not made it into CK3. That should not come as a surprise to most, but clarifies a contentious issue. The loss of 936, 769 and any of the other start dates past 1066 is regrettable, but especially later start dates in CK2 had many issues and were oftentimes entirely broken. I personally will miss Kaganbato and Kaganhulugu. It was also pointed out by people that have played the game already that the version they played did not have defensive pacts or a character creator tool. Other than that, CK3 appears to have most of the already existing game rules of CK2. We also now have access to the complete map of the 1066 start date, but I don't want to talk about that one too much since we know about most of it already and it can easily be accessed on the store page. Instead, let's talk about border gore. This is a screenshot from a game that is already run to 891 from 867, and as you can see the borders are, as always, all over the place. Borders in Crusader Kings have a phase of looking good and then looking bad and then recovering, because they oftentimes reform themselves into coherent realms and then fall apart. So while it does look disgusting in this screenshot, I think what is more important is that this map shows activity everywhere instead of just in the key regions of the bookmark. That is a good sign, since base games of grand strategy games oftentimes suffer from only a few regions having anything interesting going on. This does not appear to be the case in CK3. Let's also take a look at this map 120 years after the 1066 game start. People that played the game have reported that the East Roman Empire was incredibly powerful, which would explain what's going on in the screenshot. Additionally, the Mega Holy Roman Empire might be concerning, but beyond those two things, the map actually impresses me a lot. 120 years is a sizable time for the AI to completely destroy all sensible borders, but Iberia hasn't gone fully Muslim or Christian, there is still a Reconquista going on, the Crusades haven't completely dismantled the Muslims in the Middle East like they do in CK2 in practically all games, and the apparent victory of Harald Hardrada in England has given the player in Ireland a decent challenge, although not an overpowering one. All in all, this looks to me like the reworks we have talked about in the last months, as seen in the dev diaries, are showing an effect. No longer do religions, for example, completely blob out, because fervor just works so differently from moral authority. Mega blobs like the ERE and the HRE are likely just going to be an issue of choosing good game settings for vassal and domain limits, so that should be solvable. All in all, this should make for a more tolerable game experience, even if the players decide to stick with a save for multiple centuries. Before we move on from the map portion of this video, let's take a quick glance at this partial culture map. The existence of Cornish, the various German subcultures, and the split of the Berber culture is very nice to see, but I am missing the Goths in Crimea, the Carantanians in modern-day Slovenia, and am still somewhat confused by Cisalpine and Italian existing side by side the way they do. All in all, a bit of a mixed bag in my opinion, but still a clear upgrade from CK2. I think getting cultures perfectly right is practically impossible. Now, those were all the various new sets of info specifically related to the map. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. For now, let's move on to the last big portion of this video. Don't worry, there are many more pieces of information to talk about, but I will put those into their own videos to keep it short and precise for the moment. Let's talk about the most fascinating piece of new information to me personally: cultural fascination and innovations. Technology and its interplay with culture is something the dev diaries have not touched upon at all so far, and I cannot wait for when they finally will, because what we now know thanks to the pre-release footage makes them seem absolutely amazing. When playing CK2, I took my Norse followers all the way from Brittany into Persia, Tibet and the steppes, only then to settle them into the lands of the Byzantine Empire. The topic that was on my mind the entire time was that my people were still exactly the same as when I started my journey, because Norse culture hadn't changed a bit. The lack of influence on cultural rights and behavior of powerful rulers of that culture always felt like a big hole inside of Crusader Kings II to me. Pairing that with the absolutely boring and bland technology system that encourages going for certain technologies and then beyond that just clicking buttons randomly as you see fit, both of these systems were not exactly exciting to interact with. CK3 changes that. It combines cultural rights and the influence of powerful rulers of that culture over time with technological advances, such as new siege weapons or simply new processes, such as additional inheritance laws and feudal contract options. As you can see from this screenshot in 1066, the cultural head, meaning the most powerful ruler of a culture, can set a cultural fascination, which in real terms translates to choosing what sort of new cultural rights, technological advancements, and societal changes the culture will adopt next. There are multiple stages, likely tribal, early medieval, high medieval, and late medieval. A culture goes through these, and it is also clear that it is possible to adopt early medieval advancements before finishing the tribal advancements, meaning even after centuries of play, not all cultures are the same or have access to the same innovations, as some cultures will skip some of the options. This is an incredibly innovative take on cultural changes over the centuries as well as technology. I would even go so far as to calling it revolutionary. As you can see from the screenshot, the Irish in 1151 possessed 10 more innovations in that year compared to 1066, and we also actually see what influences acquiring a cultural innovation. The overall prosperity, called development in CK3, of a culture's counties, the set fascination as well as exposure play a big role in this. This is absolutely brilliant, because as you can see, sharing the religion with a culture that already has the innovation of course does imply more contact, leading to a quicker spread and acceptance of an innovation. I would also assume, although I do not know this for sure, seeing as this is not proven in any of the screenshots that are available to us, that living in close proximity to a culture and sharing a group with a culture that already possesses an innovation also speeds up the progress. This leads to an ever-changing level of gameplay, with a change in culture by the player character actually meaning gaining or losing access to a completely different set of accepted cultural innovations, finally making the decision meaningful. I'm also very interested in finding out what that means for multicultural empires, seeing as you could quickly adopt something that a different culture already has if they are part of your empire. The innovations visible in both of the screenshots are also very interesting, and not just percentage modifiers, which essentially was the core of technology in CK2. I'm in love with this approach and cannot wait to learn more about it in Dev Diaries. I hope the next one is about exactly this. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. In the next few days there will be more videos detailing what we learned from the newly released CK3 footage on this channel, but this is it for today. Subscribe to be notified when I upload more videos of this sort. And with that, I would like to thank the members of the channel that are making videos such as this one possible, namely the Barons Aaron, Stefan, the Richest T, Snywolf, Emma Mello, Thomas, Locken, Mitchell, MFA, Florian, and the newest one, Dan. Welcome to the channel. Then also, of course, the accounts Shifty, Wombat, and Kazen, and last but not least, the absolutely beautiful Duke, Suspicious Dark, Nathan, Knight of Squires, Kenneth, Lexo, Eric, and Aiden. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel directly. By supporting the channel directly, of course, you're making videos such as this one and the videos on CK2 possible. Thank you so much. And if you would also like to support the channel, then check out the channel membership section. I will see all of you later. Alligator.